Continuing in our theme of probably unpopular opinions about Sarah J Maas, although I feel like this one is less controversial than my last, which was why I didn't like Kingdom of Ash, today we are going to be talking about Tower of Dawn. Tower of Dawn is the next to last book in the Throne of Glass series, and for a lot of people, I think it's probably their least favorite book. And like a lot of people, I'm not really sure why she wrote it. Is she so out of touch with her fans that she thinks people actually like Chaol? Because I don't know anyone who would say Chaol is their favorite character. There are a lot of great characters in her books that would benefit from their own book, and Chaol is not really one of them. So I have some theories about this, and I'm just going to tell you my theories. These are opinions, they are not facts. I'm not going to go through and back this up with a bunch of articles like I'm writing a research paper, because this is a YouTube channel, this is not an academic paper. But my main theory about why she wrote this is because people complained about racism and sexism and a lack of diversity. Is that a bad thing? No. I love when books have diversity, but I don't hate books just because they don't have it. There's a difference between not having diversity and intentionally not having diversity. Some stories just aren't meant to have it, and that's fine. We're not drawing judgments on that. We're just talking about why Sarah J Maas might have written this book that there really was no reason for her to write. So from my understanding, and I wasn't a huge Sarah J Maas fan when this was going on, so I don't have first-hand accounts of this. This is just what I've been told by my best friend, who loves Sarah J Maas more than anything, is a lot of people criticize Sarah J Maas for not having diversity in her books. Because pretty much all of her main cast of characters, I don't know if they are specified as white, but they're definitely typecast that way. I don't remember her specifying Dorian being white. She might have, I don't remember. But reading it, I was like, yeah, that's a white guy. He acts like a white guy, he talks like a white guy, he's a prince, he's probably white. The only character that we really are introduced to early on who's not straight and white is Nehemia. And then she dies. And a lot of people, some of whom I know in real life, didn't like that the only diverse character was killed off. And I don't think that that was racist that Nehemia was killed off, but again, we're not here to talk about that. So I think a lot of this was kind of wearing down on Sarah J Maas, and because after writing this series for as long as she's been working on it, it's gotta hurt when people are calling you racist, when I really don't think she is. So I think maybe some of that was wearing on her, and she was like, well, how could I write a book about people who aren't white? I would have to go off the continent, so where can we go that has non-white people? You know, Elway isn't really somewhere we can go right now because it's not a great place to be right now because the King of Adarlan has messed it up. And so since we can't go to Elway, let's go to this other place that's got some not white people. And I think that's where she has this disconnect with her fans, because I know a lot of fans who would have been much happier if we'd gotten a book about Elway than getting a book about Chaol. I don't think anyone asked for a book about Chaol. Although somebody did tell me that Chaol is Sarah J Maas's favorite character, which, I mean, each to their own. So hypothetically, she decides she wants to include some more diversity, so we go to the southern continent. Does anyone remember if it has a name other than the southern continent? Because looking at my map, I'm not seeing a name, but I think it did have another name. And I hope it has another name, because that would be a terrible name for a continent. So, in the southern continent, we get people of color, we get lots of tough women, other than just Aelin. That's another thing that she was criticized for, was she had Aelin and a bunch of hot dudes, and that was about it. So she adds a bunch more awesome women, she adds people of color, she adds some gay characters. So she goes from having a book series that doesn't really have a lot of diversity to kind of throwing it all into one book. Which is why I have this theory that this book was written to create diversity. Do you see where I'm going with this? And then I feel like she kind of got to the end of her, oh, look at me, I'm diverse. And she was like, nobody's gonna read this. So she decides to throw in this huge plot twist about Mauve. And maybe she'd already planned that plot twist, and maybe it was originally going to be in this book, or maybe it was going to be in a different book, and she decides to put it in this one so people will actually read this book. Because I think she realized, at some point she had to have realized, people aren't really interested in this. And so then we have to deal with the issue of, if she wrote this just to throw in a bunch of diversity, is token diversity worse than no diversity at all? And in my personal opinion, it is. Because if you just don't have any diversity, that's possible. You can be in a place that's mostly straight or mostly white. But when you're just throwing in people for the sake of diversity, which is kind of what this book felt like, that's not what you should do. So again, this is all my opinion. I haven't asked Sarah J Maas if this is why she wrote the book, but I think that I wanted to start a discussion and see what other people felt about this, and if other people agreed with me on maybe why we have this book that no one really asked for. So let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And please remember, this is all my opinion. It's not based on anything. And just don't be jerks, guys. I know some of you are obsessed with Sarah. I get that. I have authors that I adore.